Season 7, Episode 16, number 281 of the Decoded Podcast. We hit a milestone recently with 276. I created a little graphic about that. That was awesome. My whole life I've been wanting to get to 276 and it finally happened. So thanks for being part of this journey with me, Chris.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I like I like the fossil fuel of terms like little, putting little beside something. We just have a little conversation. Can I just have a little moment of your time? We're just gonna have a little meeting. I just have to make a little phone call. Because it's never little.
Well,
or sometimes it is, and you're like still disappointed. Little.
It's funny you say that because the other day I walked in. So I did a bunch of things that are uncharacteristic of me. I walked into a school, announced, walked into the office and asked to speak to the principal without making an appointment or anything. I just walked in cold. And I said to the admin assistant, she goes, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "Good, good." She goes, "What's up?" And I'm like, "I need to see the boss." And she's like, "Does she know you're coming?" I'm like, "No, she doesn't." And the admin assistant's just staring at me like, what do I do with this? Because normally it's, "Hey, I'm here. I've got a 9:30. So I said, "Tell her I need 30 minutes at least." Because most people are like, "I just need a couple." I'm like, no, I need a solid half an hour at least. So you can imagine everybody in the office is looking over like, what is going on here? Then I hear the principal yell, "Is that Roland?" Nobody's made any eye contact. They're like, "Yes, send him in." So I'm like, I get to the door. "I just need 30 minutes. She's like, yeah, come on in. So I didn't do that. "I just need a couple," because that would have been a huge lie in that moment, because I was coming in with all kinds of intel. 2 minutes wasn't going to cut it that day. But I get you, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Let's do a little podcast this morning, Chris.
Yeah, let's do a little podcast. Yeah. And even when, someone starts a story, I just got in a little bit of trouble. Right? That idea of little, putting that to me. I went on I think my during and post-COVID teaching brain just was on fire, looking at how we communicate with each other, the nuances of language, the ironic things we say in education. I was going back through some of my content that I was creating during that time, and I'm like, man, you're a cynical bastard. Like, just like some of the stuff that I was saying. But then I also thought it was also kind of cool edge. Like I was hitting some social commentary that really was, I was feeling it. I was thinking it. It was sparking up some good thought fuel. But little was one of those that popped up. That was the time also when I came up with that idea, like fossil fuel, right? Like these phrases that the jargon. And it's not even of education. Our education has sort of taken it up. But last year I started to do this is whenever I ask for like if I need to talk to the principal and I'm sending that, I'm communicating that need via email, I will ask them if I can have some of their time. May I have some of your time? And then the second line is, I need 10 minutes. And I am becoming a shrewd time manager when I'm sort of taking time from other people. And I will, if I've declared the time, 10 minutes is my standard. Like, it's kind of like, if I'm not sure, I'll use 10, but I'll also set my timer on my watch. I set it. I'm walking into the office as I'm walking in or walking up to the door, or I see the person in the hallway. Doot. I have on the face of my Apple Watch. Yeah, you can't see shit. Oh, maybe you can. So in the top corners, there's a timer across from the green thing. That's the timer button. If I hit that, I get up all these different timers, and I use those all the time at school. And I've come to do it not because I want anyone to kind of go, "Oh, hey," and it doesn't beep beep. It just vibrates on my wrist. I know Well, I do a podcast. I know that I can talk about almost anything in education and I can keep going. There's not a lot of small talk with me if I'm not controlling myself. But for me, I don't want to give people my time because they demand it. I don't want to give my default settings. I don't want to give people my time, period. But I understand that, to be in relationships and to be around humans and to be a teacher and to show kindness and compassion, those are like off the clock. Like you have to just kind of flow with that kind of stuff. But I'm also miserly. I've become very miserly. Not protect. I'm beyond protective. Protective suggests that I have some sort of defense mechanism, like I'm always on alert. I'm not. I'm miserly, which is kind of like recognizing the value of my time, and I will actively only give out so much. I do on occasion as well set my timer when I go and talk to somebody that has asked to talk to me. So I'll actually time it. And depending on what I do have to get done that day, that timing can flex. I'll set a 15-minute, I'll set a 10-minute. So on my watch, I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Those are like the quick taps that I can do. So I like the term because it opens up a whole space that besides you and sometimes, Karen, these conversations don't pop up. What does pop up are people talking about not having enough time. And I'm like, well, how many littles did you have today? They're like, what are you talking about? Like, how many little things did you have today that ended up not being all that little? So,
I like that, the time thing, but it reminds me that there are certain people that are now established in my mind as people who, whenever they want to talk to me, have something for me to do. Right? Like it's never you have a conversation with this person and you leave feeling good, or you leave feeling like you leave with more work to do. So now I don't go near those people. Not because I'm scared of work, but because it's not a positive thing. It's like, oh, this person wants to talk to you. Oh, great. Well, I better clear my schedule and kind of go see them because they're going to give me something to do that. This is the relationship. It's not, that's the relationship. Roland, you go see this person, you leave that person having something that is on your plate that wasn't on your plate before. So for those people, they get none of my like reserve time. Like time, they get none of my time until they ask for me, and then it's just transactional. It's just a business thing. At this point in the game, I refuse to give those kinds of people my time. Even the bullshit by the coffee machine, I'm not giving you that time. I'm not giving you any time. Nope, I'll get my coffee somewhere else. So I like that. I like this timing and seeing, how it goes. I'm intentional. Like if I say to somebody, I just want 5 minutes, I will look at my watch or my phone. I haven't hit the timer button like you type of thing, but I will just say what I need to say. Uh-oh. Is there a burglar?
No, it's just Maddie coming up from
Oh,
the basement and my dog being lazy. That's
well,
a lazy.
she's
No,
happy.
This is a lazy dog. This is the lazy dog. Here's the thing. So this way, 10 feet is the basement door. So one of my kids just came into the kitchen. This way, 2 feet. Okay, 2 feet. 1 foot, the dog's lying on the floor. Instead of getting up and investigating, the dog laid here on the floor and barked across that 10 feet. That's a lazy dog moment. Now has gone back just to lay back on the floor again. Yeah.
Well, she said hello to your daughter, so that's not. I think it's nice. Obviously, it doesn't meet the Chris Clough standard of greeting somebody, but
it's just the irony. That's my dog, I guess, being efficient. And the other thing too, and anyone listens to this pod or you get this too, like animals have no sense of human decorum. Mm-hmm. So to sort of force them to exist, like first thing that happens, dog barks, I look at the clock, I'm like, 8:30, other people are sleeping, you know. I
Right,
skulk
right.
around here in the morning like a ninja, trying not to like disturb a dust particle so that I'm quiet. The dog just like, yeah, screw that. I'm gonna scream at the top of my lungs.
I do understand. Even though I don't have a dog, I totally get it. Um, I'm gonna go back to time for a second, though.
Do it. Go back in time.
I want to go back in time to time and space. So I want to say good morning to Gary for he's
Morning,
joining us,
Gary.
and good morning, Rochelle. Thanks for
Morning,
joining us.
Rochelle.
And I told Rochelle that I have a great SEB story. SEB is the school she works at this morning. So yesterday I got an email. I'm on a committee, and one of the on this committee we're going to do like a book club thing. So we're everybody on the committee is getting a copy of this book, and I got an email from the individual who's responsible for sending the books to us, and the person says, "Hello, Roland. I'm checking in with you to see how to get you this book. Do you want to come pick it up at the board office, or do you want me to send it to you at SEB?
Hmm.
I don't work at SEB, but the HR system says that that's my home base. I belong to SEB.
Hmm.
So,
This is an evolving story with you and your board as well, isn't it? Like you've
100%.
you've mentioned something about this before.
I know, yeah, Gary and Rochelle will know. Any other listeners will be like, what's he talking about? Because of my role, I'm an orphan in the school board. I don't have I don't have parents. I don't have, well, I do have parents. I have parents when I'm in shit. Then someone's calling, hey, it's mom. I need to talk to you now. Um, but I have no, the system doesn't let me, doesn't, I'm not, I don't live at the Catholic Education Center, which is our board office. I don't live there. But I get all their emails, all their consultant
Hmm.
emails. I get those, but I don't live there. And I'm at the alternative school is where my base is, but the alternative school isn't recognized. Like nobody works at the alternative school. They all belong to another school and have been loaned out according to HR.
Hmm.
So I'm just in no man's land, and my I drive around all day, right? I have a cell phone, but if you want to contact me, I'm a ghost unless you have my cell phone number. I don't exist. Um, so I'm sitting. I stop to eat and to sit and to see humans at the headquarters at Alted. Sit down, get my food, crack open the laptop. I get this email. Do you want me to send it to SEB? So the first, I put my food down. I kind of rub my temples and I say a couple of quality swear words. Okay. The teachers in the other room, they're like, "What's up?" And I'm like, SEB. And they're like, "Oh God, Roland," because they're like, "Don't start," right? Because when I go off on that, I don't take a little bit of time. When I go off on that, I take a lot of time. So I take a couple of deep breaths and I respond to the email. Thank you very much for reaching out. I'm looking forward to getting the book. Can you please courier it to St. Bosco, Kitchener site? And it's hilarious because the board office is literally like 15 meters to my right. But I'm like, I'm not going to the board office. I'm not doing that. I'm getting back in my car and I'm going back to work. Then when I come back and I need a break or I need to see somebody or I need to do some computer work, I'm not going to the board office. They don't want me there. So I'm not going there. Um, and the mailman I know well because whenever he comes into Bosco, he chats us up. So it's going to be hilarious that if I'm at Bosco when he comes in with my book, he's going to make a comment about the book and then I'm going to laugh and say I gave him extra work to do and we're going to all enjoy it, right? But if I
Hmm.
don't, he'll come over and he'll just put it on my desk. So but there's the story, but I want to layer something onto the mailman story because the mailman at the board office is also the gentleman who does all the laminating. So if you send laminating to the board office, he does it. His name's Robbie.
Hmm.
So over the Christmas break, I went into my wife's classroom to put up some alphabet lines and number lines. And as I'm putting it up, she's like, "Hey," I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Robbie did the laminating there." So I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait to tell him." So I can't wait to see Robbie to tell him, "Hey, you did a great job with the laminating," because I inspected it. And did you bring me my book? So there's that. So there's the SEB time story. It's like time and space. Nobody knows that they know I exist when there's a problem, which I guess is okay. But outside of that, I'm a friggin' ghost. They even said that to me the other day when I was there, because the way I'm sitting at my desk and there's a filing cabinet and there's a door. So if people are walking past that door and they're on a mission, they won't see me. They won't see me, and I'm not loud. I'm just kind of working away. But yesterday, the social worker stopped. She's like, "Oh my God, you're here?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "How long you been here?" I'm like, "I don't know, 25 minutes." She goes, "You're like a ghost." I'm like, "Yeah." That should be the new sign on the door, right? Roll in the friendly ghost. Now, this is the best. Rochelle made a comment. Rochelle said that SEB isn't even my last school. And she's 100% correct. It's not my last school. And yet I am attached to that building, and I just want to shake somebody because I don't want to be attached to that place.
Mm.
And yet HR has gently dropped me there. I don't know how much mail I'm missing. I don't know, because it's HR. So that means it's important stuff. I don't know how much of it I'm not getting because I'm not there. And I don't know what they're doing with anything they get there. The admin assistant has no idea at SEB who I am. So she must just look at it and toss it, because who's Roland? The principal knows my name but doesn't know me. And Rochelle doesn't work in the office. So she's not going to get all my mail, right?
Hmm.
So it's like, and I know IEPs are due soon, right, Rochelle? I got that email from Spec Ed, even though I don't work there. So I know. You should see my principal when I bring this up. She just shakes her head. She's like, "Don't start." I'm like, "I'm starting."
I'm starting.
Because she's like, "They don't even know where I exist." I'm like, "You're a friggin' principal. They
I
still
like that.
treat you
Don't
better than they
start.
treat me." Anyway, I'm done with that one. But SEB, the ghost of Roland, ghost of SEB past.
I think being a ghost is okay.
I'd take it, bro. Special
Yeah.
ops, I'm out. You'll never find me unless you need me.
Hmm.
I'm fine. Like, I know I'm complaining, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be a ghost. I'd rather be a ghost. Just let me do my thing. And the people that count on me, so to speak, I guess, they know I'm not a ghost. They know I'm around. They know I think I'm around more than they would like sometimes, because they're like, "Oh, here comes Roland. He's got more news." And it's never, that's not fair. 98% of the time, it's not good news, right? It's
Hmm.
always, "Hey, principal, this is happening now. What do you want to do?" On top of their already like arm long list of things that they have to do as part of their duties. So
Right.
they see me coming, they're like, "Oh, for goodness sake, what's he got now?" And I'm like, "I got more intel. I need to share this with you. We need to do something about this, or what would you like to do about that?" Anyway, Rochelle's only in the office when she's designate of authority. Okay, well, when you're in there, can you check the junk pile and see if there's any mail for me? Thanks, Rochelle. So we hit 276, episode 276, and I was ecstatic, and I made like a little graphic. I think I put on Threads. I think Threads is my social media trash can. It's kind of where I put odds and ends for fun.
Hmm. Hmm.
I get no traction there, which is fine, but I'm still building. I'm building my trash can there.
Trash can traction.
That could be a new thing, TCT,
Yeah.
Decoded
Trash can
Podcast.
traction. Yeah. Optimizing your spam and trash can. No one ever says that.
No, they
We
don't.
could. We could put out a whole AI tool. Trash can traction.
Trash
Maybe
can.
we could call it trash can in traction, just to make the acronym a little funnier sounding.
Maybe I should go to SEB Go in, sign in, and when they say, "What are you here for?" and I'm here to check the trash. And they're like, "What do you mean?" "I'm here to check the trash to see if
I'm
there's
going to check the
anything in my
trash.
mailbox," which is the
And you just say
trash.
it casual. You make it casual so that it's like this is a completely regular word for you that means something completely different. And then you're walking away. They're like, "Where's he going?" He's going over to like his. Where's he going? He's going to check the trash. You're like,
They
but the bin's in that direction. It's like, no, yeah, true. Wait, true. Where's he going?
I even have a key to the shredding box so I can
Yeah.
look through and see. I know that's breaking a lot of rules, but I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't do anything or tell anybody about what I saw. I would just look for anything um, that's got my name on it.
Yeah.
Trash can traction.
Trash can traction. It's our new software development.
There you go.
That's part of our AI software development arm
Hmm.
of Decoded Industries, and
Decoded Industries.
yeah, yeah, Decoding, de-ink, dink.
Hey, I'm with Dink. I'm here to check the trash.
I'm here to optimize your trash can traction.
Who are you with? Dink.
Dink.
No, really. You know how much trouble I'd get in? I'd probably be written up for like several different things.
Especially if there were two of us that walked in as consultants and one of us said that, they'd look at the other guy like, him? Like, no, it's a company. That's funny. It's
Or a
kind of
shirt.
funny.
I'm here with Dink.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
pointing at the other side. Yeah, we could
They're
have
like,
some
that's
fun with
rude. And like, no, it's rude that you think it's rude. It's our company name, Decoded Incorporated.
I
Oh,
want to tell a
man.
story, but I think it could get me in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Do I know the story? I can tell it for you.
I don't think you do know the story.
I can't think
You know
of that.
what? I'm not going to tell it. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. And when I see Gary and Rochelle in real life, I'll tell them. But I won't tell it here because I think I probably did something, a few things wrong. But I was desperate and I had to find something, and I did find what I needed. Um, and you should
Is
have seen the.
this about pooping in the forest?
No,
Oh, okay.
you know about me pooping in the forest. um,
Oh, it's
I
funny.
okay. I'm gonna move off of this, and I want to jump
Yeah,
into.
let's get away from it quick. Let's move quick. Run away. Run away.
So I drive for work, and
Mm-hmm.
when the weather gets bad, I stop and I think like I have to be extra cautious because when you do something often, you get into like a autopilot mode, and I have to
Mm-hmm.
remember and try to become aware to not go into autopilot mode when I'm driving from school to school because I'm driving more often, my risk of a problem happening increases, I think, mathematically. And when the weather's not good, um, I have to take it easy, which doesn't mean like it just means it might eat up an hour of the day that wouldn't normally be eaten up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever think about that when you're like when you go home every day to work with the dog and to have lunch or whatever? Do you think to yourself, are you in autopilot mode, or are you aware that you're driving down the street and that it could be a little bit slippery, or it's raining, or there's snow everywhere? What are your thoughts about that? Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, that's you know, um, I think that there for me, there's high cost with that. It's funny. Let's just take it back to being mindful in general is a lot of work. To be mindful, like just to okay, so talking about mindfulness in the broad sense, there isn't a really clear path to get good at it. It's just like you just do it. Just do it. Pay attention. Just do it. Notice. Just do it. Slow down. Like there's all these kind of like small tools that will give you access to noticing exactly what's in the moment. Um, I mentioned to you this week in a polo that I've been really test driving. What is it that I need to do that's right in front of me? What's right there? So um, I can have a bunch of, checklisty stuff that I have to get done. Often when I look back at my checklist, there isn't a lot of revelation in my checklist. I'm writing down things that are in my head. I'm writing down things that I'm carrying around all the time. I'm writing down things I already know. So then I think to myself, okay, if I'm going to be mindful about the things I need to get done, why write it down? Just let the next thing come to the top of the list. So the thing that's right in front of me. So I like that you're talking about this noticing as we drive, because that's a great exercise in what is actually right in front of me right now. And despite the fact you're traveling in an enclosed case in your vehicle, let's say if you're driving, there's a hell of a lot of distraction, a lot of things that demand things that actually do need to be a pay attention to, and then other things that you don't. Um, and I do for my short commute when I drive. There's a lot of turns. They're through neighborhoods where there's a lot of traffic out on the streets. Like, just I would say social traffic, not business traffic. It's just, people coming in and out of their driveways. Because I work in a school, I'm traveling around the same time that others would be traveling to get their kids to school. And my neighborhood is fairly active. Like, there's animals and people walking. Like, there's lots of stuff going on. So yes, I do, and I become hyper aware of that moment when I suddenly realize that I wasn't paying attention, and I can't account for the last two turns. Those moments really, really do bother me, because I think of what a liability I was at that moment. That I really was a liability, and then that makes me think big picture. How many other people are operating this way? How many people are on that cusp of having a really bad thing happen? I'm catastrophizing it, but this is how I kind of process it. They're on the cusp of a really bad thing happening, and somehow the universe just kept them safe because they were running the odds there. Could have gone really bad, could have gone the other way, because they were doing nothing to actually kind of like steer their boat whatsoever. So yeah, I am aware of this. I do. When I kick in, I get that adrenaline bump, little endorphin first, like, okay, good for you. You noticed you weren't noticing. Then you get the adrenaline of, oh my God, how did I make that last right turn? Or, you take a quick, too long of a look at the radio or down to sort of turn the heat up in your car, and you look up and the car ahead of you has put on the brake lights. If the brake lights are 2 feet from the front of your car, that's a problem. But I get the same response if it's 2 feet in front of me or 100 feet in front of me. It's the coming up and having a cue for safety or danger that reminds me that I was doing something I shouldn't. And it's like my brain goes, there, see, you weren't paying attention. So we're going to give you a little hit of adrenaline just to remind you that you need to keep your head up. Because I like the endorphin, I don't like the adrenaline, right? I like the satisfaction of like, oh, wow, I'm being mindful, but I don't like it when my face is rubbed in it to say that you should be more mindful. I like this. I like this.
Good to know. Good to hear. Um, when I'm ultra focused on that, the driving, I do engage in some worrying about the people around me, because I've had times like you where I get to where I'm going. I'm like, how did I just get here? Um, and then I'm like, whoa, exactly. If I can feel this way and still, my brain and my body got me to where I needed to be, but I was not present during this experience. That's happening to other people too.
It's like your passenger, like it's that sort of like you're not like that being suddenly holding the steering wheel and noticing that you've been a passenger for the last 5 minutes. That's chilling.
It's alarming. Um, so I do my best. I do my best to stay present, to stay. I actually try to stay away from people when I'm driving. On like,
Back to being a ninja again.
well, it's like the worst is when you pass somebody and you see them like this. Their hands doing the steering wheel thing, but they're looking at their phone. It's like, oh,
Mm,
Nikes, I got to get away from this person quick. So either I slow down and just let them
mm,
go, or I speed up and get away.
yeah.
Because I'm now I know I talk to you when I'm driving. like I record a message, but I hit record and I'm driving, right? I'm talking and driving. Some would argue I probably shouldn't even be doing that, but I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it takes away from the awareness of my focus on the road and what's around me. In fact, it brings me pleasure because it is so boring now for me to just drive,
Hmm.
not talking to anybody, not listening to anything. Like just driving is friggin' boring. I need something. I need to listen to talk radio, or I need to hit play and listen to one of my friends who's recorded a message for me, or me check in with somebody by recording a message. Like this is how I operate now in a car. But
Hmm.
I guess I've been doing it for like 2.5 years this way. Um, what's Here's another really cool awareness. Um, every now and again, I will treat myself. Um, or in some ways, it could be viewed as me abusing myself by getting some fast food for lunch, right? Like I will pull into a place and I'm like, I'm going to have a burger today for lunch. I'm going to take 15 minutes to eat it. And I'll go in, I'll sit down, I'll order my food, and I'll eat my food. And then I have memories of when I was in the classroom and I would go out for lunch. And it was such a treat to just leave the building, sit somewhere, or pick up fast food and bring it back. It was like a treat. But that is my whole life right now because I don't have a building that I go to and I sit in all day. I had that awareness the other day. Like, I was like, oh, do you remember when this was like a novelty? And now it's not. I'm literally driving from 8 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon, all day, every day. It's weird, man. It was weird. Now it's funny when I see people in a staff room meeting. I'm like, those guys are weird, right? Because I'm like, you're just gonna stay in the building and eat in that room with other people you work with all day? Like it's so foreign to me now that I laugh. I walk into staff rooms. I'm like, what's everybody doing here? Um, Yeah, it's something. I don't even remember what a treat day is like. I haven't seen a treat day in a school in a long time. Do they, Gary, Rochelle, do you still do treat days at your school? Like, is there a list? People sign up, people bring in some treats. You go into this room called the staff room, you laugh and you joke with people and you have a donut. Does that happen anymore? Fill us in.
In,
Chris, does it happen at your school?
what? Like
Treat
the
day.
like I've never heard of such thing.
Okay, so in elementary schools, there's a there has been in my time one of the sign-ups. One of the extracurricular activities is kitchen cleanup, kitchen tidy up, and treat day. And so it's it's an unwritten rule that every teacher will sign up for, depending how many teachers, 2 or 3 spots for the year, where during those weeks you're responsible for maybe tidying up dishes, um, wipe. I know, don't worry, I'll get to that in a second. Uh, tidying up dishes, making sure the fridge is in order, um, cleaning
And
the
people sign up for this?
yes,
Okay, sorry.
cleaning the tables, making sure the room's in good order. Okay. Now, when I was a newbie, yeah, I signed up and I did everything I was told to do. But as I grew out of the newbiness, I remember saying, I'm happy to I'm happy to put my name here and to come in because I don't use the staff room. Or at one point, I wasn't using the staff room at all. So I said, I will put my name here and I will come in, maybe on like the Tuesday and the Friday to make sure things are in order. But I'm not cleaning anybody's dishes and I'm not putting your dishes away.
Mhm.
So um, do what you want with that. I'm not cleaning your dishes. And then there was always 2 or 3 people on staff that had the same opinion of me and would say it out loud, like, "Yeah, I'm not doing your dishes. I'm not cleaning your dishes. I'm not putting your dishes away." Um, and then I would go in there and I would kind of tidy up as best as I can. Then I would leave. Treat days. There's a sign up, and it's like every Thursday or Friday the school picks a day. Um, if you put your name down, 4 people per week, you bring in treats like donuts, cookies, cake, whatever. It could be like a healthy thing too. It could be like that week, you and the people who signed up turn into a salad treat day, and everybody brings in salad stuff and you eat. And so it's like, okay, you sign up 2 or 3 times. Every Friday, the idea is a bunch of people have signed up. So every Friday you can go to the staff room and there will be something special there that you didn't have to bring, and it's there for you to eat if you want it. But then we get into the some people don't sign up, but they'll more than happy to eat. Like,
Well, you already know my philosophy of buffets and cookie exchanges, right? Like, I'm not trying. You got to go back to episode 152 or whatever, where we just went off on. I know the people that don't wash their hands. I've seen them come out of a stall and walk right out the door out of the bathroom, and then the next day they're bringing the snowflake cookies in. I'm like, dude, you don't wash your hands. I don't even care if someone else made the cookies at home. You carried them in with your wiping hand. I'm not doing it. Forget it. So I'm way too shrewd that way. So that's my immediate response. My second response is I've never liked the idea of enforced happiness. And that's what that looks like. Everybody sign up because unless, okay, so here's the crushed by little things moment. Okay. Just because someone puts a sign up doesn't mean you have to sign up. And that is okay. Yet I will meet people that because there's a sign up, I gotta sign up. Not only that, I gotta be the first to sign up because I want to make sure I want to get on that sign up sheet so fast so that it's like there's desperation in it. I got to make sure that I'm the only one bringing in lemon cake, or I'm the one I want to make sure that I'm cleaning dishes on Wednesdays because no one uses the staff room on Wednesdays, right? Like all these little conditional things that make you feel better about making a bad choice. I'm not down for it. So I'm not signing up for treat days. Nope. I will, if I'm eating something I got extra, I'm going to turn to you sitting beside me. I'm like, I have some extra cookies. Would you like them? You say no. I'm like, fine. I'll share with who's there. I'm not going to leave my stuff behind because I'm also not the guy. I leave no trace. Back to ninja style. I will clean up after myself and expect the same of every freaking adult in that building. Yeah. I was also the one that argued, like, here's the irony. So when back in the day, when I was still doing hospitality at my school, so when I was doing hospitality, I was teaching grade 11, like a culinary course for, I think 2 years. 2 years? There was 2 years there where I put together a catering menu for meetings. And I said, my students I have a particularly savvy group this year. I said, I think, and this was maybe by mid-November, I put together some basic kind of like sweets. We could do some fruits and vegetables. And I think I put like a short list of little sandwiches we could make that I figured we could always pump that out every single time. And I put together like a catering menu and an order form. And I said, okay, and here's the cost of this. And for that school year and the following school year, we were catering a lot of meetings. It was great because the kids got their real-time experience of preparing food and transporting food and setting up the catering event. And then in the second year, I had some students that were staffing it. They were there and making sure the cleanup. So it's cool, right? That's a cool in-school experience. And then I became a department head. For a short term, I was a department head, the tech department. But I wasn't teaching hospitality anymore. And the person that was teaching hospitality didn't want to do the catering. I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to do that. They were teaching that particular course. But I remember them asking me like, okay, so you're going to arrange to have the food here. I'm like, no. I'm not that person anymore. They're like, but you were. I'm like, yeah, I'm not anymore. So that teacher never wanted to do it. So it never happened. So then they flipped to, okay, now each department is responsible for bringing snacks to the department head thing. And when it came around to, I didn't sign up. I'm like, I'm not bringing in food. Because the expectation was that you were to prepare it on your own time, pay for it with your own money ahead of time, submit the month to get the money back. And I was just like, and then what? I store it in my classroom all day? Or I run out, or I go spend my gas to go get it after school and then come back. I said, I'm not going to do it. And I can remember the principal looking at me like my head was on backwards. And the first thing they said They're like, well, every other department has signed up. I said, and you'll notice I don't eat any of the snacks.
So, bro, there are so many layers. And yeah, do we want to turn episode 281 into 152? I don't think so, but
No, no, no.
it is amusing. So
Mhm.
there are some comments that I would like to address.
Please do.
Okay, so first Rochelle says yes, there's still treat days on Fridays. People sign up for a week. Okay. And you know what? You know what? Somebody's probably written my name on one of those weeks because I belong to SEB, but I'm never at SEB and somebody's cursing my name. That Chidiac, he's never here. His name is everywhere. He doesn't clean the kitchen, doesn't bring in treats. And Rochelle and I could have some fun with that. I could name a couple of names that she'd be like, "Yeah, they would complain about you even though you don't work here." Just for fun, Rochelle. I'm not trying to get you into trouble. Gary says not generally with the treat days. Some departments may periodically bring treats in for their colleagues. Okay. Um, I'd love to know, Gary. Are you one of those guys, Gary? That's all I'm gonna say, Gary. Do you flex your leadership that way? And oh my God, I think Ramona still is the president of the Decoded podcast fan club. I don't think she's ever like signed off that she's not president anymore,
Pending.
pending losing her presidency.
No, some of the paperwork is still pending.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm like, she's pending on losing. Ramona says she's trying to listen on the road this morning, but keeps losing sound, which is interesting. She'll have to catch up the recording when she gets home. You don't have to lie, okay, Ramona? Just get home, make your turkeys, do your baking. You don't need to listen
Get
to the
safe. Get
podcast. You're the
safe.
you're the president of the fan club.
And Gary, Rochelle, Ramona, Gary, Rochelle. We'll do the people in the room introductions.
There's more. So
Oh, there's more.
yeah, Rochelle says at one school, everyone was scheduled for 3 weeks a year. No opportunity to sign up for when it worked for you. I've been in schools like that too. I love that.
Who did that signing up? I would love to know, Rochelle. Who did that? Who put? You know what? It's a great bit of how do I would say this? Like groupthink. Like it's a version of groupthink, but also there's a I think there's a reciprocal bit of thought fuel with groupthink that I often consider, and it's okay. So groupthink, everyone going along with what seems to be the predominant idea, but then there's a counter thinking space in there that often there's a cohort of individuals within groupthink that don't believe in the big idea, but what they actually think is they're the only one. So because they think they're the only one, they don't challenge the status quo. So I bet you there are some rogues. There's always rogues that sign up and complain afterwards. I like to meet the rogues that scratch their name off the list and say, yeah, no, or the level 4+ rogues that scratch their name off and then scratch someone else's name off and write their name there. So they're like a pirate. They're like a snack treat week pirate, and they're taking somebody else's spot.
So I've been in situations like that, where
someone took your spot, or
no, one person's the general, and they make the
No.
list, and everybody's on the list.
The funny thing is, they don't even have the power to make the list, yet they make the list and people follow it. Yeah,
100%. And then, so welcome to Irma. So
Welcome,
Irma
Irma.
comes in hot. Irma's like, "What? No voice and choice, Rochelle?"
We lit her up.
Yeah. We were, she was living her life, doing her laundry, baking her cookies for her staff, and then she's like, "What did they just say?"
Irma's looking down at a list right now, saying, "Oh, geez, maybe I shouldn't post this. Maybe I shouldn't put this list up."
but it's just funny that we dragged Irma out of the dark because of the voice and no voice and choice at Rochelle's school.
Yeah.
Rochelle says she agrees with Irma. Happy New Year to her. What about us? What about us, Rochelle? It's okay. Irma comes back with kitchen cleanup. Hard pass. We're all responsible adults. We can clean up after ourselves.
Yep.
I can't wait until Irma's in a school. Well, maybe she is, where there's a general who does all the lists, whether Irma knows about them or not, as the administrator of the school. That's always an interesting thing. If I ever work under Irma, I'm gonna just do it. I'm just gonna get my
I
general
bet
suit
you.
on. I'm gonna make the
Yep.
list. I'm not even gonna tell her. I'm gonna wait for somebody
Yep.
else to go and say, "Did you know Roland created a kitchen cleanup list?"
No, you no, wait. No. What they'll say is, did you know that Roland created a little kitchen
Oh,
cleanup list? No, dude. Someone says that. I put together just a little list so people could sign up for treats. I just, and that's what they say. I put together. There's no really like ownership there. Like I decided I wanted people to work. So I created a list demanding their compliance. Yeah, we don't say that. It'd be I'd be like, that's bold if someone ever said that. But yeah, it's I created, you know what? I created a little rubric. I created a little list. I created a little sign up sheet that I thought would work for people to bring in their treats.
I'm gonna do everything I can
Mhm,
to be called into Irma's office and be have that courageous conversation.
mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
challenge now. It's a challenge. Okay. Um, Irma says it now explains why Chids hasn't brought in snacks where I am.
It's very much could be. Very much could be. Yep.
Okay, so Gary's saying he lost video from us. He lost video. I don't know what's going on. Are we being censored? Ramona can't hear us in her car. Gary's losing video. Like, what's going on here?
You know what? I'm gonna say I'm gonna blame it on the weather, blame it on the rain. I'm gonna Milli Vanilli this moment. We're gonna blame it on the rain, only
Okay.
because right now between the cold and the water and the snow and the wind, welcome
Gary's
back, Gary.
back. Welcome back, Gary. You didn't miss anything except just me getting myself in trouble with the school board. No big deal though. Irma's got another comment. She says the alpha will organize the sign up so that it works for them and their social group. Oh my God, the new layer has been added. It creates
Mhm.
chaos and division because even within the schedule, there is no switching. That,
See, but this, and again, this what's interesting about this is I like that, and I'm going to honor the Irma's experience and everyone else in the room their experience here. But I guess I'll say you've never met me in this moment because I'm walking up and I'm crossing out your name, yo. Like I'm going right up to the list. I'm like, no, I'm bringing chips and dip, even though 4 slots have already been filled in with chips, chips, chips. I'm like, I'm bringing, even to the point. Oh, where did this happen? I'm having a flashback. I think maybe it was my kids' school. Maybe it was my kids' school. One of the grades or two of the grades, they had like treat weeks, and we would get a note from the teacher saying, "Can you bring in whatever?" And even like the teacher, can you send in tissues or like some sort of a classroom supply? And we would literally walk into the basement and see what we had extra. And I didn't care if they told me they need like tissue paper. I'm sending in crayons. I'm like, this is what we got extra. Take it. But there was another moment where I think it was a kind of a funny conversation, I think, between Karen and I, where we saw the snack list and it's like, there was nothing on there. There was nothing on there that we wanted. What was left, there was something ridiculous. Like, I don't know. It was, let's just say, basically, it was like all the chip slots were taken. Like all the sort of straightforward, easy things were kind of taken. And then there was like one of the slots was like cut up carrots. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not washing, peeling, cutting, packaging. I'm not doing that. So I just put scratched out carrots and I put chips. And I remember, I'm pretty sure Karen's like, you can't do that. I'm like, yes, I can. There's no rule here. There's no rule here. This is the dystopian universe of snack selection. I'm doing what I want and I'm going to bring in what I can. And I'm like, watch, nothing's going to happen. Nothing happened. I didn't get an email. I didn't get a message. I didn't we weren't standing around parent teacher night and people were like, ooh, that's the guy that didn't bring the cut carrots. Like there was no aftershock. So
two things. I've never crossed someone's name off a list, but
mhm,
I've added my name. So
yeah,
like
I've done that
I've
too. Yeah.
there's 3 slots for
Mhm.
chips and dip, and I'm like, well, now there's a fourth because that's what I'm bringing. Um,
I do that at PD as well.
what do you mean at PD?
Like
Like,
professional development. You sometimes go somewhere. Remember back in the day, it was really popular for the ed camps. and they would say,
Yes.
okay,
Oh,
here's your 4, your 5 pineapple topics, whatever.
right, right,
And
right.
but there would be limited spaces. Now that when you did the ed camps, you could walk around and just kind of go to whatever session you wanted. You remember those?
I do
Remember how
remember
big
those.
those?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were cool. Back in the day. But even in PD sessions where it's more organized for the school, and they're like, okay, there's like sign up sheets and there's like 15 names. Well, if I walk up on the 16th, I just write my name there and then I walk in the session.
I
Because
get
all
it.
that is an attendance sheet. It's not a compliance you can't go in. Short of fire code, come on. What they're looking to do is make sure that to a degree they're honoring the presenter so everybody gets a share. But really, if there's 4 sessions and nobody goes to one of them, you just need to really look hard at what was being presented, not force people to go sit there and be a body in the room. Anyways, go back. You're back to you.
I got a couple of stories that come to mind now. So one story, treat day at the school I was at, there were, I think I've told this story on probably episode 22 and probably like 195 and 208, probably. Somebody have to check the tape. Ramona will know. But anyway, um, it was treat day. I think like only 2 people signed up. Now here's an unwritten rule in my head that I think has come out since this time. But in if there's 2 ways of looking at it. If I'm working in a school with 30 staff members and me and another person are signed up, I might talk to the other person and say, "Hey, listen, like what are you thinking of getting?" So that maybe I can complement what you're getting. We can both kind of be money conscious, but also I'm a big fan of making sure that there's enough for everybody. That's a roll-in thing, okay? So it's like you talk to this person so that I don't bring in like, you know, 12 muffin 12 muffins and they bring in, I don't know, a loaf of cheese bread and some cream cheese and everybody's looking around like, what are we supposed to eat? There's not enough here for everybody if everybody wanted some. So I'm a big fan of getting a little bit more than is needed. But I had not expressed this, and I was still new in my career. Krispy Kreme donuts had just opened here in Kitchener, so it was popular. Lots of people were getting it. There are 30 people. Now, there's there's all kinds of ways around this, okay? We could have cut up the donuts and not everybody has to have a full donut, yada yada yada. That's not where I was coming from. I walk into the staff room, and this was a school where first recess, if you had duty, you were screwed because all the good stuff would be gone by the time you got in for lunch time because you were outside for first duty. But then you'd have friends that would go in and get you stuff because you were on duty. It was hilarious. Anyway, go into the staff room. There's a box of Krispy Kreme donuts, and there's like 30 people waiting to annihilate the treat. And I guess we were all privileged and spoiled thinking we all would get one. Well, there's only 12 donuts and there's 30 people, so you're not all getting one. And then this person, this educator, was blacklisted for the rest of my time at this school because they're like, this person knew that there was a lot of people and yet they only got 1 dozen Krispy Kreme donuts. I know there's all kinds of ways around the issue, right? Like it's not even an issue, but for some of us it was at the time. That's hilarious. So when I see that person, I smile and I think of the Krispy Kreme store. And I've been doing this for like 23 years, and it lives right here, right at the front. There's that story, and then there's the story at the same school at the start of the school year when we would sign up for our gym times. So the planning time teacher would sign up for gym first because they had to teach gym. So they have to have, they're teaching certain blocks at certain times. You have to have gym at those times because that's what you're teaching those kids. But then it's wide open. It's the Wild West. People jump in there, friends help friends. And I'll never forget at the end of this process, the shittiest gym, two of the shittiest gym times, beginning of the day, end of the day, were left over. That's all that was left. And the grade 6 teacher, he didn't have a lot of friends who were looking out for him in this way, and he wasn't gonna elbow people out of the way to put his name on the list. So the list gets to him and they're like, here, you need to sign up for your gym time. He goes, I'm not signing up. And then the person in charge of the gym list was like, how dare
Oh,
you? This is the gym list. You must sign up. And he's like, I'm not doing gym this year. And this is a fellow who was our age, the age we're at now, right? He's been around forever, and he's like, "No, I'm not doing it because you, the general in charge of the list, made sure that the planning time teacher did it first, which is legit because the principal will step in and tell you that has to happen. But then you went to all your friends. You went to your crew, as Irma would say, your buddies, and you took all the desirable times that work for you. What about everybody else? Well, then there's the soft negotiation, the hard negotiation, and the just put your name on the list." And
You know
he's
what
like,
also
"I'm not
pops up
doing
in
it."
that? Yeah, you know what else pops in that? Remember this week I was talking about, well, what you have to understand is, and that's another one of those fossil fuel phrases, like somehow you making the decision, you're not equipped to make that decision in the right mind because you don't have all the information. When all the information is basically privilege kept you off the list, right? What you have to understand, Roland, is that, and then you kind of lay out these other things, and I just go glossy eyed. I'm like, oh, I understand all that. And I hear what you're saying. I just don't accept that as truth. So,
So it got a little bit tense. I don't
um,
even know why I was around. I think I was chatting with him about something. They came in. They're like, "You must put your name on the list." He's like, "I'm not putting my name on the list." They're like, "Well, we're gonna go tell the principal," and he's like, "That's awesome. Do it, like, great. Do what you want with your time." So I made sure to giddy up to the office too, because I was like, I don't think this is going to be presented properly, and I felt a little bit of my leadership kicked in. I'm like, no, I want to see how this plays out, and I want to be part of this. So we go up to the office, and the general tells the principal he's not signing up, and then I say, boss, um, it got to him last. He didn't trip over people. He wasn't stepping on people to get to the list, and this is all that's left. So the principal's like, okay, well, this isn't cool. Like, let's figure this out, right? Let's work through this. So I think the principal met with the grade six teacher, and the grade six teacher stood his ground and said, I'm just not signing up. My kids are not going to go to the gym. Um, I'll take them outside and I'll do this and that, but we're not going to the gym. And the principal was solid, but the principal was also like, how am I going to fight that group? That's a strong group. Those people, right? And we're all looking at the principal like, you're the one to die on that hill, bro. Like, you're the leader, so what are you going to do? Um, Long story short, he called in the general of the list and said, we're going to redo this. This doesn't work. It's not working. If we could at least, if everybody in the school could get one desirable time, then we're good. Like, then I can say to my staff, no, you all have one desirable time, and some of you might have one, your second time might be undesirable, but hey, I'll keep that in mind for next year, type of thing, and we'll work it out. So then the principal started like keeping receipts, right? Now the leader of the initial list was pissed because she's like, hey, I made this work for me and my buddies, and now you're gonna screw it up. The principal's like, you didn't fucking think this through, and now we got problems because you're selfish, so I'm gonna have to change things. And I'm just watching. I'm just like, this is awesome. This is cool. How do you fight back against those groups if they're not there for the common good? They're just there for themselves. And then how do you deal with teachers that are just like, we're not doing gym, right? Like, no, 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 like making it try to work. It's like, I'm just not doing it because this is completely unfair. I love that stuff, man. So treat days, we don't do them at Bosco, so that's cool. I barely go into staff rooms anymore. I just go into schools. I meet with the people I need to meet with, and I get out of there and I go to the next place. Um, I don't clean up anybody's dishes, and I never will. I never did, even when I was new, and I put my name on the list to help. I never did dishes, so it'd be funny because people would walk in and be like, there's like 100 dishes in here. And then they'd run to the list and they'd go down the list, Roland. And they'd look at me. I'm like, I'm not cleaning your bleeping dishes. Not happening. If you like, I can pick them up, put them in the trash, and then they'll go away and the bin will be empty. I can do that, but I'm not cleaning your friggin' dishes. That's a hard no. Even as a newbie, I'm not doing it. So Interesting conversation. Interesting conversation. In my opinion, I'm enjoying this.
The only layer that I still want to comment on is I don't care if there's 80 staff. I'm only buying a dozen donuts. I know that's going all the way back
No,
to
no,
where
it's
you
perfect
started,
though. It's
but
perfect.
yeah, the only thing everything you're like, I'm like, yep, I'm nodding my head. I'm like, you got to rebuild the list. You got to like break down the cliques. That person standing on their ground and saying, this is crap. This doesn't make sense. And the whole time in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm buying a dozen donuts. I'm going Lord of the Flies on that. I don't care. And whoever's in there, I don't care what period you have. I'm going to buy the donuts. If I'm participating, I'll buy the donuts. I put them there at the beginning of period one, what's convenient to me. I'll leave them on the counter. Have at it. I've contributed. So,
So I get it, and I'm not going to push back on you. I get it. I do. And this reminds me of my favorite is when the norm is to take care of the 80 people, and someone goes and gets like the smallest thing, but there's 80 of them to say, I know it's this big, but there's everybody gets one. Then the people look at them side eye too. It's hilarious. It's like the cookie exchange. You sign up for a cookie exchange and you make these little snowflake ball things. You make
yeah.
10,000 of them in an hour. And then I'm over here making double mint chocolate sandwich cookies. One's taken me like 8 days to make, and I'm making enough for everybody.
Mm.
So there's I just want to organize these things and stand back and watch how it plays. That's what I want now. I want to enjoy
The,
that.
the most popular dish, hands down, every year I think back to the school that I was at for a decade where they had a lot of these kind of common meal, lunch, Christmas, buffet kind of stuff. Lots of opportunity for different people to bring in, different snacks. It wasn't lists, it was just scheduled events. So people could you would declare ahead of time, yeah, you put your name on a list what you're going to bring. I tended just to bring something. Like I would sort of decide and just bring it. Here you go, eat it. But I would say the most popular was the my buddy Andy, who ran the art department, and he would go get a 12 piece from KFC, and he would walk after everything was all set up. Everything would be set up in the staff room, and he would make an entrance with the KFC bucket, and he would just set it down at the end of the table, and people would just go nuts. They're like, "Yeah, the chicken's here!" But that's what it was. And there's 12 pieces. There's like 60 of us sitting around in the staff room.
So
But that there was something there, like I was like,
I'm
that's the way you do it. That's the way you do it.
you're honoring me with the KFC because you
Yeah.
know where I'm going with this, right? The
I
story that
don't.
you don't
I don't. Not
the, s-
yet.
the story that's been told in episode 112, 172, 308, which hasn't even come, but I will tell the story again. Did I not? I'm sure Gary and Rochelle are rolling their eyes right now. The Christmas party, and me and my buddy Dougie bringing the KFC. Have I
Yes,
not?
you
Yes.
have. You have.
Now there were a lot of
Dougie
people.
did it. Dougie did it. The name that queued me up.
Dougie. Okay, so that was
Gather
epic.
round, kids. Here we come. Gather round. Here we go.
What was epic?
Episode 281. Here it comes.
What, what was epic was we told the staff we are bringing KFC, and half of them were looking at us like, "Oh, you guys are shameful. You guys are horrible people." And yet it was those people who were running for that bucket, salivating as we cracked that open and they could smell the Colonel's secret recipe. Okay. We didn't bring enough for all the people at the party, but you should have seen this table. There was food everywhere. We were just adding to it. And then my favorite is the principal bypassing the vice principal's dinner rules and engaging with the KFC, which then Dougie and I said, well, if the boss is starting, we must oblige. We must be with the boss. Um, that was the best. KFC, people will poo-poo KFC, but the minute they smell that secret recipe, they fold. They fold like cheap laundry. So here we are at 281. I bring up the Christmas story. I won't tell the whole thing. I'll save that for 308. But man, oh man, there have been a lot of good times with staff and parties and watching the generals. Um,
Hmm.
I'm so I work. I have a student at one school that I go to where one of these generals from my first few years operates, and this individual's still walking around trying to run the place. They're like 100 years old now. They can barely walk, but they're still running the lists and telling people how things are going to be. And I just laugh. And people are like, "Oh, do you know so and so?" "Yeah, I know so and so." "How?" "Well, do you have a minute? Do you have a little bit of time? Because I got stories. Um, can I tell a story? Can I tell a good winter story that I think Irma, Gary, Ramona, and Rochelle will enjoy?
Do it.
Okay. It's not a little story, so I'm not trying to trick you here, Clough, okay? Um,
Okay.
my first couple of years, I'm teaching planning time at a school. So planning time, I'm teaching like grade kindergarten to grade 3, phys ed, science and social studies and music, something like that, okay? And I was between two schools, and my morning school started about 40 minutes earlier than my second school. So that meant at the end of the day, at my second school, I finished 40 minutes earlier than everybody else. So I would just sit in my space and do work or whatever. But um, on this particular day, there was a snowstorm. So I decided I was going to go out and I was going to clean off as many cars as I could. Um, so I get all my gear on. I go to the office and I tell the principal, "Hey, I'm done for the day. Just so you know, FYI, like I'm done. So when you see me outside cleaning cars, I'm not supposed to be teaching." He's like, "Yeah, yeah, not a problem. You're done for the day." Okay, so I go out and I start cleaning cars, and one of the cars is running. It's running with the heat on and everything. And we're like 30 minutes away now from the end of the day. So I'm totally confused. I don't know what's going on. I figure out the grade 6 teacher. I figured this out with some investigation. The grade 6 teacher whose classroom is at the front of the school, she left her class to go outside and start her car so that after school, when school ended and the kids were gone, she could just get in her car and go. It'd be clean and warm. But here's the best part: she didn't notify anybody. She just, I guess, gave her kids work to do and she left them unsupervised, which is, I like, the biggest no-no you could possibly do in education is leave your class unsupervised. So as I'm cleaning the cars, I didn't like this person. Um, I got to put that out there. As I'm cleaning the cars, I think to myself, I'm going to get in that car. I'm going to back it out of its spot. And I'm going to park it right in the middle of the entire lot so that when, when the parents come to pick up their kids, they're going to be honking and hooting and they're going to come into the school and they're going to be like, "There's a car in the middle of the parking lot. Like, what's going on?" So now I only have a little bit of time to do all this, right? And I'm trying to clean cars off because I'm trying to be helpful to my friends, my colleagues. So I'm cleaning, I'm like getting enough gumption to jump into somebody's car and drive it because you're not supposed to do that, right? But I'm like, you came out of your friggin' classroom, you left those kids unattended. Nobody knows you did this. Like, no, no, this is not cool. I go to get in the car, the doors are locked. Yeah, this person was able to start the car, lock the doors, and is able to get access. So now I'm pissed. I'm like, there is no justice in this world. I'm pissed. So I clean off a bunch of cars. The end of the day comes. I tell some of my close friends in the building, "Can you believe she friggin' did that?" And I don't tell the principal until years later. The principal retires. And I'm like, "I got a story for you." I tell him this story, and I'm like, "Where the F were you? Like, you're the boss. You didn't know that and corner office, you could see her car. Did you not know that she left the building?" He's dying. He's like rubbing his temples. Like I can see he's like, "Oh my God, she did that in the," I'm like, "Bro, she did it. How do you know?" Then I started to break it down. And now he's looking at me like, "You're nuts. You did that much investigation for this." I'm like, "I had to. I had to figure this out. She left her class unattended to start her car, clean it off, and come back in. No EA in the room, didn't notify the office, nothing, like a ghost. So I tell him this. He's rubbing his temples. He's dying because he's like, on his watch this happened. And I'm kind of, pushing back like, it was on your watch. How did you not know that? And then he's telling me, you're an a-hole. Why didn't you tell me? I'm like, you want me to walk in and like, I was like, I wasn't going to tell you, but I was going to put her car right in the middle of the whole operation so that everybody would be like, how did your car end up in the middle of the road? Right? Like, I was going to cause problems for this to come to fruition. It didn't work. Um, anyway, the next year, Christmas time, she was promoted, which then I laughed at the principal and I was like, really? Really? He goes, everybody. He, it was funny because he was such a stand-up guy, but I'm like, you're one of those guys now. You had the opportunity to get her out of here and you did, and now she's gone to do this leadership thing, but everybody knows she can't do it, but you helped her get there. And then he'd push back with some flowery stuff or whatever. But um, just those stories, man, that's a winter story for you there. The bottom line is I cleaned up a bunch of cars and people were happy to leave and not have to clean their cars. But best stories in EDU. Irma's got something to say, and then Gary, and then I'll let you have the final word if you want, Chris. Irma says, picture this, year one, me, being summoned to the staff room because you're on snacks, but not being aware of snack days because you're an LTO who just started, so there are no snacks. Oof.
That was like me in bus duty, my very first week of teaching.
They told you, why aren't you outside doing your bus duty? And you're like, what are you
I
talking
got called down to the principal's office. It's been what, how did he phrase it? It's been noted that you did not make it down for your bus duty this week. I'm like, bus duty, which probably wasn't the right thing to say. I had no idea.
Irma, please tell us how that played out. Well, I see
Yeah.
that you got the crying emoji, but
Yeah.
were you devastated? Did they give you an opportunity? Was this person who called you, who summoned you? Was it the general who was in charge of the list with
Yeah.
their crew behind them, all staring at you like you're not worthy? I'd like to know.
Knives and forks. Like, where's our snack?
Where's the KFC?
Where is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Gary says, if it's a norm or frequent, does it have the same impact on staff as a true surprise treat? If I'm treating my colleagues, I want it to help show how much I value them and their time and energy. Gary, I get that. I do, and I appreciate that. And there's been times like that where someone's like, hey, I brought in blah, blah, blah. It's in the staff room. Go nuts. And we're like, yes. But I got to tell you, Gary, some of the weeks, I'm not going to mention the school, but at a school I worked at, the only thing I looked forward to was the end of the day and treat days. Honest to God, there was nothing else to look forward to. It was so bad. So I did appreciate that I knew that on Friday I could go to the staff room and there might be something there that was going to help me feel good kind of externally by eating it or drinking it or whatever. So I get it. It there are weeks where there's nothing because nobody signed up for that week, and that's okay. Like, that's the perfect situation where people are free to sign up as they wish, and they're truly free to do so. And then you get to some weeks where you walk in on the Friday and you're like, where's the treat? And then somebody begrudgingly says, nobody signed up this week. And I'm like, okay, I got to remember that is life. So it's that these 4 people who didn't sign up, they didn't sign up, so we're not getting anything, and that's okay. They don't have to sign up.
I like how you said valuing people's time and money. My last mini story was I was at a school where there was heavy push to participate in the gift exchange, the secret Santa gift exchange, and of course they had said, there's a limit on it. They had said $20 limit. I think it was a $20 limit. Some people were like, that's so much. Oh my God, whatever. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I was new to the school. I figured, okay, I gotta develop some social currency here. I'm gonna participate. And I didn't commit any time to actually getting anything. So I'm driving to the event because they had it off site. It was like a Christmas party. And as I'm driving there, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to get something. So what I did have though is I had some like office supplies in my car, like in my backpack that I always carried. So I took a $20 bill and I put it in an envelope. And the way that this gift exchange worked is that everyone's gifts went into a table in the middle, and this school actually had like a spinning wheel, like spin the wheel, and it would be like pick a gift, and there were like a bunch of rules on the wheel. Pass all gifts to the left, pick a gift, and there was all this kind of thing. I will tell you, I think mine got picked because people are like an envelope. It's like it doesn't show well on the table, and there was no writing on it. There was nothing fancy. It was just like the school's name, stationery, and an envelope. Little did they know the time and value that was in there, because it was like maybe by the fifth or sixth pick, someone opened that up, and for the remainder of the game, there were about 25 people in this event. For the remainder of the game, every time the $20 bill left someone's hands, there was like, oh, they were so sad. And people were like, I can't believe you did that. Like, what? You can't do that. It was supposed to be, I'm like, it's a gift, $20, time and value. And I loved watching it. And the funny thing is it almost made it back to me. I think like the last spin or something that was left, it was sort of like trade to the left or trade to the right. And I was the opposite of that. So it would have come back to me, which would have been epic. If my $20 would have come back to me, I got to participate in this great thing and it cost me nothing.
Those things, though, I love that story, and it reminds me of just watching those things happen. Like recently, my son's hockey team did something like that, where it was like everybody got a gift, and then they had this operation of who could take from other people.
Yeah.
And just watching the psychology of it is so fascinating. You know, my son got so my son unwraps this huge cylindrical container of um, like premium nuts, and there were beer nuts in there that were sugar coated, and he looks at me and I'm like, you're keeping that because I want those nuts. And there was a scratch card, so there was the possibility of winning money. And my kid's 13, right? And he's like, money? And he likes nuts too, and he's like, nuts? So for the whole time as the game's playing, every time someone's like, okay, Jimmy, you can steal now, I'd see Will kind of go like this, like if they can't see it, they can't steal it. And the saving grace was somebody had one of these really cool mugs that was a Toronto Maple Leaf mugs, and everybody here's crazy, they love the Maple Leafs, so all the kids were focused on the Leafs mug. So there was a handful of kids that don't like the Leafs that are looking at each other like, don't come near my nuts, or don't come near this, or don't come near that, focus on the Maple Leafs mug. Like, just watching the psychology and the behavior, hilarious. But I could see how a $20 bill would cause people some excitement.
Game changer. It was game changer because people are like, who is this guy? And I was looking for I wanted to build connection, right? So there were some people that were like, you can't do that. Like somehow they were poo-pooing on my idea. And then there were other people like, that was brilliant. That was because then everyone's tracking the $20 bill around the table. It was awesome.
Irma says that, so she's continuing her story, that another LTO who thought he was funny, he started in September, whereas this was week 1 for her in October. After being ashamed and devastated, which sucks, I may add, I brought snacks the following day because snacks was Wednesday. Then she said, funny now, but highlighted the need to spend time with new humans in the building about some cultural pieces, traditions versus past practice, episode 310.
Yeah, exactly. I like how she's time traveling with us into our future. Irma knows how we roll.
Irma knows.
Yeah, Irma knows. There is a whole week's worth of episodes for us to unpack the equity within inside these sort of like celebratory practices, right? And just how we lead well, how we support individuals' belief systems, how we honor different culture systems. There's an excellent serious question within there about representation and people being seen. There is absolutely.
At one
Episode 310.
at one school we loved our treat day, and we would do special days. So like we would have a pie day and a cake day, and it would be epic. The food that would come in and the variety was fantastic. um so having said that, there was a time where it was like it was big business, and it was serious business. But I guess I'm past those days now. I don't kind of live in those spaces anymore. But it's interesting to see the different staff members, the personalities, the archetypes, like just the different people and the different expectations. I remember at this school with that was lavish. I remember helping create the pie day, and I remember saying two things in my email to the staff. Number one, this is not a social committee activity because a social committee would get in trouble. They're like, "You're having another day. I don't want to buy more of this." And they're like, "Whoa, I didn't do this." So I was like, "This is a rolling thing. Has nothing to do with social committee." Number one. Number two, if you participate, I'd like you to know that that it's not one of those pay to play. I'm bringing in a couple of pies, and if you don't bring any pie in, you can eat, and I'm not going to bother you. Like I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be like you didn't bring anything in. So that's how I made it. Just because I was like, can we just get in the staff room and hang out? Because it was, I loved the staff, even the people I didn't love. I loved in a weird way. Like it was a cool place. Um, and so I was like, let's do this day. Bring in pies. I can put a sheet up and you can write down the pie you want to bring in if you want. But there was, because nobody wants to bring in the expensive stuff. They all want to bring in the cheap stuff. And then it's like, okay, well, this isn't apple pie day. So can we please not have 50 apple pies? Like, come on, people. Um, so yeah, I'd be like, this is not a social committee activity. So don't go after them. And it's not a pay to play. So if you don't bring in any pie, but you still want some pie and there's some there, have a piece of pie or two or whatever. Um, Rochelle says, but does that time have to be in the staff room? I'm not 100% sure. She's talking to Irma. The time, I don't know. Whenever I go into Irma's school, she's never in the office. She's floating around the building, which sucks if I need to see her, but it's all good. Oh, Irma says, nope. It was over the announcement during recess. I'll have to share exactly how it went down. Well, 310, Irma. You can tell us all you want in 310. You have to wait a while though, because I can't predict when 310 will happen because of two dads rolling on the weekends. We don't know what's going on. So 310 could be in 4 years from now, or it could be in a year and a half. Who knows? Anyway,
Conservatively speaking, we know that's like 29 Saturdays from now.
yeah, conservatively speaking.
Yeah, 29 Saturdays.
Okay, dude. Well, what's the final word from Chris J. Clough? We got the image getting crushed by little things. I love it. Good stuff, man.
Good combo.
Thanks to Gary, Rochelle, Irma, and Ramona for checking in.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you want to buy a T-shirt or anything that we have created here at Decoded Industries, contact Ramona. She's the president of the fan club. She'll connect you with the right people. Um, and other than that, have a fantastic rest of your day and weekend. I can hear Ollie over there. She's got something to say. He's
Yeah, Ollie's quite. Ollie thinks that every Ollie Ollie thinks that Karen is his personal treat pusher. So
got it.
As soon as Karen goes to a specific space in the kitchen,
It's on.
Ollie's right.
Yeah.
Ollie's right in there, and the dog has no clue. But Ollie's like, "Come on, give me something, give me something."
That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. Okay, well, This
Have a
was,
good one, dude.
yeah, you too. This was Decoded Podcast, Season 7, Episode 16, number 281. Have an awesome weekend. We'll catch you later. Peace.
Peace, dude.